Are you wondering how much it costs to refurb a property? Maybe you've seen a property that you'd like to buy that maybe is in need of modernisation and you're not too sure how much it's going to cost to make right. Well, this video is perfect for you. In this video, we discuss everything you need to know when it comes to refurbing a property. And most importantly, we talk about the cost involved. Now, if you do anything in this video, make sure you watch this all the way through to the very end, because at the end, I'm giving an absolute killer tip to ensure that your refurb comes in on budget. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Marco. I'm a portfolio landlord, property investor, developer and mentor, and I'm incredibly passionate about helping those invest in residential property. Now, before we get into the main part of the video, I must apologise. I'm not sure if you can pick it up on the microphone, but I'm just recovering from a cold. So please do bear with me. I'm a bit nasally at the moment, but I'm sure you're still going to get value from this video. Now, this video was actually suggested by one of our subscribers. They emailed me saying, could you do a video on this topic? And I replied saying yes. So if you have an idea for a future video, please don't hesitate to email. Right, before I get into the main part of this video, where I list and detail all the costs involved to refurb a property, there's three important things you need to think about. Firstly, I'm going to use an example. I'm going to say we're buying a 2-bed terrace property in Leeds. And the reason I'm doing that is because a lot of buy-to-let investors will typically buy kind of 1, 2 or 3-bedroom property. The majority of those are terrace properties in the north, because that's where the buy-to-let strategy really works. I'm from Leeds, I grew up in Leeds, I invest in Leeds, so I know this area really well. So we're going to make that assumption for this video. So therefore, if you're refurbing a 4-bed property, it's going to cost you a lot more money. Also, if you're refurbing a property in the south, where again, not only a property price is more expensive, but trades are more expensive too, again, it's going to cost you more. So that's something you need to think about. The second thing I'd like to discuss is the quality of the refurb. Are you refurbing to say a 7 or 8 out of 10 for buy-to-let tenants, or are you refurbing to say a 9 or 10 out of 10 for serviced accommodation? So in this example, again, we're going to use the buy-to-let. We're going for about 7 or 8 out of 10 standard. It's not perfect. It's great. Don't get me wrong. It's certainly not poor. It's a great, good standard, and our tenants are going to be happy living there, and we're going to be proud to offer, quality accommodation. But what it's not is hotel standard 10 out of 10. Therefore, it goes without saying, if you're looking to produce a 10 out of 10 serviced accommodation property and refurb it to that level, it's going to cost you more. And the last thing I want to talk about before we get into the detail is, how much work does the property actually need? If it's just some light modernisation, great, that's perfect. But if it's a full, from top to bottom, let's say you found a property in the auction, it's completely derelict, it's not habitable, doesn't have a kitchen, doesn't have a bathroom, it's probably going to cost you more to refurb than what this video tells you. So, that's something you need to consider. If you're buying a property that's completely just, needs gutting from scratch, it's going to cost you more. But if you're buying a property that's on the open market, maybe someone's already living there, it's actually habitable, this video will prove successful and you'll be able to get a lot of value from it. So those are 3 things you need to think about very, very carefully before watching this video. But let's get into the main points and discover how much it costs, say, to refurb a 2-bed property, 2-bed terrace house in Leeds that is in need of modernisation. So first of all, let's discuss the big ticket items, the big 3: bathroom, kitchen and roof. They're the things that really can set you back. If all those 3 need doing, you're looking at minimum 15 grand. But let's get into the detail. So let's take bathrooms first of all. Well, a new bathroom can easily set you back £5,000. Depends on the quality and also depends on the size of the bathroom as well. Now, a question for you, does the whole bathroom need doing? I've bought properties before where I gotten away with only doing half the bathroom. For example, let's just say there was actually a modern bath fitted with a nice shower, but actually the toilet and the basin need doing. So do you need to do the whole bathroom? That's a really interesting question to ask yourself. Let's come on to kitchens now. Again, on a similar theme, a kitchen can easily cost you £5,000. And one thing you need to think about with the kitchens are the appliances too. So not only do you have to do the worktops and the cupboards, but the appliances may need purchasing too. And you can easily spend at least £1,000 or £2,000 on good quality appliances just for your kitchen. Now, I've got a really good tip when it comes to kitchens. Does your whole kitchen need ripping out and fitting in a complete new one? Maybe the answer is no, and actually you may be surprised to hear that some of the time this actually is no. There is a thing nowadays called spraying kitchens. Someone comes along, essentially they spray, in other words, paint the front of the kitchen so it looks more or less brand new again. Then you can put on new handles. Now, this can cost you an absolutely small fraction of the price as the cost of a complete new kitchen over here. So actually, if your kitchen's in a half decent condition and you can get away with painting the outside and putting new handles and everything's still solid and works well, I'd certainly recommend doing that. You can bring this in for probably around £1,000 compared to say £5,000 on a whole new kitchen. Similar to bathrooms, with a kitchen, if you've got a large kitchen, you may choose to populate more of that space with more storage and more kitchen space. So therefore it may cost you more to have more surfaces and cupboards fitted in that kitchen. That's just something to think about. Before we move on to the roof, I've got a huge ask for you. I haven't asked in a long time for anyone to consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. However, I'm going to make a huge push in this video and it really does mean a lot to me. We've grown so much in just 18 months and I've got so much more in the pipeline that I'd like to share with you. So if you are watching this and you haven't yet subscribed, please do me a favor, consider subscribing to this video. It really does mean a lot to me. So let's get on to roofing, shall we? Now, roofing is a bit of a dark art. You can get one roofer out and they'll give you a quote, I don't know, £4,000. The other will come out and they'll give you a quote for £8,000. So with roofing, it's really important to find a tradesperson that you trust. I can't emphasize this enough. You can't just let anyone go on your roof. So with roofing for say a 2-bed terraced in Leeds, you could be looking at about £5,000. Now you could bring this in slightly less if you were to say choose a tradesman who's not VAT registered. You could save some money there. However, the VAT registered companies obviously charge VAT, plus they generally are larger companies with larger running costs and they have to pass that cost on to us. So you could easily expect a roof to come in probably around £6,000 from a larger company, or maybe say £4,000 or £5,000 from a self-employed sole trader. So that's a huge difference really when it comes to doing a new roof, and that's why I like to have lots of really good roofers in my area that I can call upon if I need a new roof. Now if it doesn't need a whole new roof, maybe it's just a little patch here and there, you could be looking at £1,000, maybe £2,000, something like that. But if the roof does need doing, I thoroughly recommend that you bite the bullet and do it. It will future-proof this investment, it will future-proof the property, and fingers crossed for the next 10-20 years you won't need to touch that roof. So let's move on to some other areas now, and if we think about the guttering, that's really important. For new guttering and downpipes, etc., you could be looking at £1,000 for that. Again, let's stick with the outside of the property. Let's talk about windows and doors. They cost a lot more than what you think they do, or at least in the past couple of years, their cost has been increasing. So now, if we take a 2-bed terrace property in Leeds, it probably has 3 windows. You could be looking at £600 per window. So let's say £2,000, roughly speaking, total cost. And with the door, that's a little bit more, it could be just shy of £1,000 for a nice composite door. A little tip with the doors and windows, make sure the company fitting them is fencer registered, and you get a certificate at the end of the install, which means when you ever do sell that property, you can use that and the buyer can have confidence that it's been fitted by an approved and accredited company. Right, let's move on to the utilities now. So let's come on to electric. Now, does the property actually need a full rewire? Good question. I bought many properties where actually this isn't the case. A full rewire was not needed. However, we needed to update the RCD unit, and you're looking at roughly speaking £400 to £500 to do this. So it's an idea maybe to get an electrician to have a look at this before you purchase the property. Of course, if it's something in auction that's completely obliterated and abandoned, yes, you may need a full rewire if no one's lived there in 30 years. But if it's something that just needs some light modernisation, you may not even need a full rewire. Okay, let's come on to central heating then. So if you have the central heating system in place, absolutely great. There are few properties actually that don't have central heating. Now again, you do come across them, so obviously you're going to have to put in this central heating system, this gas central heating system, should you want to go gas. This can easily cost you again between £3,000 and £4,000 to do this. What's more common, however, is the boiler, and you may purchase a property that has a very old boiler and it's pretty much due a new boiler, or it's going to break in the coming years. You could be looking at somewhere between £1,500 and £2,000 for a brand new boiler. And a little tip with the boiler is when you get your boiler fitted, you will get a manufacturer's warranty. And this is normally for 5, 6 or 7 years. So whoever is the manufacturer of your boiler, make sure you register that warranty. And what this means is if that boiler fails at any time for those 5 or 6 or 7 years since install, that manufacturer will come out and fix the issue. However, there are normally certain conditions to this. You must have your boiler serviced annually. So this is a really great tip, because I know many landlords that in fact will just call their gas engineer to fix the boiler when it breaks, and they will pay their gas engineer to fix the boiler. You don't need to do this. You call the manufacturer, providing it's under its warranty and you're meeting the conditions of that warranty, it's normally free of charge. Right, let's come on to decorating and walls and flooring and things like that. So let's start off with plastering. Plastering, gosh, the cost of plastering has absolutely soared in the past 10 years. I remember plastering a 3-bed house for a couple of grand. Now you'd be lucky to do it for less than £5,000. But let's take the example of the 2-bed terrace we're talking about right now. If you're to replaster a whole 2-bed terrace, you're probably looking at somewhere between £3,000 and £4,000. And it's so hard at the moment to find good plasterers. It's such a skill that's in demand. Therefore, if you do find a good plasterer, hold on to them and treat them really well. So let's come on to painting and decorating. It could cost you, say, £2,000 to paint a 2-bed terrace from top to bottom. Of course, painting and decorating, although it is skilled, me or someone else can do it. So that could be a cost that you choose to do yourself if you're trying to bring it in seriously below budget. You could choose to give your mates a couple of beers and I'm sure they'll come round and help you out. So let's talk about flooring and carpets. So let's say you wanted to carpet a complete 2-bed terrace property. You're probably looking at about £2,000 roughly, depending on the quality of the flooring. You may choose not to use carpet. You could use, lino downstairs or something like that. Or there are many options, and you could actually use something a bit more hard wearing in the kitchen. So often when you have a 2-bed terrace where the kitchen and the lounge is on the ground floor and it's in the same room, you could have 1/3 where the kitchen is with a hard wood flooring. However, where the lounge starts, you could have 2/3 carpeted. Again, in the bathroom, you probably want tiles or vinyl, lino, something like that. You don't really want carpet. In the bathroom, it's a bit old school. Okay, so let's come on to Woodworks, or what I'm talking about, is around the doors, the skirting, and things of that nature. You could easily be in for £1,000 for all woodwork, maybe another £1,000 when it comes to internal doors as well. So the mathematicians amongst you have probably been adding up all the thousands of pounds over the past 20 minutes and have come to between £30,000 and £35,000. Now this is probably more than what you're expecting and more than what most people are told. There are a lot of dated videos, especially on YouTube, that say you can do a 2-bed terrace top to bottom for 20 grand. Well, yes, you could do that 10 years ago, but now it costs more. However, there are ways you can reduce this cost. So of course, if you are somewhat skilled and want to do any of these jobs yourself, that's one way of bringing down the cost to refurb the property. However, we don't always have the skill set and we don't always have the time. Again, as I've already referenced, you could try and avoid VAT registered companies. However, I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best strategy to undergo. There are some really amazing companies and they are VAT registered. So you are saving yourself a bit of money. Maybe you can find some really good self-employed painter decorator or a great self-employed roofer. That's going to save you money. But with some of the costs, it may be best to go with an established, reputable company. Now, I promised you an absolutely killer tip that would ensure you come in on budget on your refurb. And it's a really basic and simple tip, really, and that's to have a contingency. So let's just say it costs us £30,000 to refurb this property. Well, let's add a contingency on top of that. Things go wrong. Often when we're refurbing a property, things go wrong. Things are unexpected. We discover something that maybe costs more. Very rarely does it work the other way where we come in at saving. So this is why we really have to put a contingency on this refurb. If you're a pro when it comes to refurbing properties, you may want a smaller refurb because you're more confident in your figures. You've done this many times before and therefore you're better able to forecast. So maybe you're putting a 5 or 10% contingency on your total cost. However, if you're just starting out, or if you're not sure, for example, if I'm not sure of the refurb cost of a property, maybe there are a lot of unknowns and variables, I will put a higher contingency. So maybe I'm using, say, 15 or 20% of what I think the property is going to cost to make right. So if it's your first time, maybe allocate 20%. It's highly likely you're going to bring it in on budget then. Before I summarise the video, there's another really important consideration to think about, and this is time. So if you're going to be doing, say, the painting and decorating or anything else yourself, it's probably going to delay the refurb because you can only do so much being one person. So yes, it may cost you less to refurb the property if you do a bulk of the work. However, it's going to take more time. And let's say if you do all the work yourself and the refurb takes you an additional 2 months, well, that's 2 months you're losing out on rent. So you've got to work out whether it's worth you doing the work or actually paying someone else to do the work and getting rent at an earlier date. So let's summarise. At the time of recording in 2024, you're looking at, roughly speaking, 30 to 35 grand top to bottom to refurb a 2-bed terraced house in Leeds. It's going to cost you more down south. It could even cost you less in Leeds if you were to do some of the work yourself, or if you're a builder and you've got a building company and you can bring everyone in at cost. So I hope you've got value from this video and you now have a better idea of how much it costs to refurb a property. For those viewers of the channel that are not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It means a lot to me. Not only that, but it will help this channel being promoted to individuals with a similar mindset to you. Do you have a question? Please pop it in the comments below. I'll respond to all questions personally. So what video should you watch next? Well, I'm going to let YouTube dictate that. Hopefully YouTube will pop up a suggested video to watch somewhere up here. Click it and I'd love to see you on the very next video. All the best with your property investing week. Goodbye.